And plus, you wanted to see Kobe and Jordan.
Yeah, we're live, by the way, and yes, we did, but it was propaganda. It was like this is the next guy up, so we threw him in the All-Star game. But I'm not saying that Kobe Bryant wasn't talented enough to be an All-Star his second season, but much like Andrew Wiggins, he did not have the production to be an All-Star in that second season.
Let's not compare Kobe to Andrew Wiggins in any type of way. I don't think that's fair to the late great Kobe Bean Bryant.
I can't pull a Steve Smith of ESPN to like just have a hot something hot right there, even though they kind of go together, but we know that Kobe would run circles around Andrew Wiggins.
You do that, and the Big Baby and Friends podcast probably won't exist anymore because nobody's going to want to listen. So,
yeah, look, I do not think at all that Kobe and Andrew Wiggins are comparable. Okay, please.
I get what you're saying from a situation standpoint, but Kobe's what was he 18? Was he not even 19 yet? I don't even know if he was 19 yet.
Oh yeah, he was a baby.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I think everybody knew it was Jordan's last year, and you weren't gonna. They only play each other twice in the regular season, and the All-Star game is the ultimate pickup game where you do get to see the one-on-one matchups. That's why, think about it. Kobe's last All-Star game in Toronto, LeBron smacking the floor, because that's what everybody wanted to see. Everybody, even an old, past his prime, finished Kobe Bryant going against LeBron in the All-Star game. You want to see that, because it was the finals that we never got.
Exactly, and I think that's you call the ultimate pickup game. And what I love about the All-Star game, bro, is that it's really you see where everybody's standing is in the league. Like, just look at that box score and look at those minutes. You can tell who the young boys are. You can tell who the big dogs are. You can tell who got drunk as hell because they were just happy to be at All-Star weekend. And what Team LeBron did, they did reward the Cleveland hometown guys.
Yeah, they were on the floor.
And left them on the floor. I mean, granted, you had
– And LaMelo was on the floor.
You know why? He's a big dog. He's a young boy, but he's a big dog.
Oh, you don't think that Jordan called that shot for showing up?
I
need more pub for my guy.
I don't know if Jordan called,
but
I think LaMelo is a big dog like that, and he's in Charlotte. He's young, but did he hold his own?
He did. He did. I mean, think about it. He's a 6'7", 6'8" point guard. I mean, talented. If he can get his shots are all right. It improved a lot, but if he can become a much better if he can get into that 40% threshold, even I tell you, give me 38, 39. Because I bet he's like 34 or something.
I'm going to look it up because I believe in the Ball family. I was listening to Joe Budden today, and he was saying I think we owe LeVar Ball an apology, and I'm like, I'm not going to go that far. I think that LeVar did some stuff that bothered me.
He's 36.7% on the season.
Oh,
and for his career, he's 36. So yeah, if he can get to like 40.
It's only year 2.
That's true.
Look where Lonzo was as a shooter year 2.
And he's a much better shooter.
Hey, he can shoot the lights out now, if we're being honest.
That ugly ass, kind of flicked side wrist. He goes in though.
So All-Star weekend just ended. I'm not going to give it a grade. The All-Star game was great. The fucking dunk contest was terrible.
It was the worst of all time.
Where do you want to start with All-Star weekend?
Well, let's talk about Steph Curry and making – I get it's the All-Star game and he wasn't really being guarded like that. But what he did was still unheard of. And it's kind of crazy. I didn't realize that just 5 years ago that street clothes gave us 52. That's like, fuck, what was he – I don't even remember him doing that.
I remember it as the New Orleans All-Star game 2014 because Bankroll Fresh was drunk as fuck on bourbon.
Right. Oh, haha. That's where the lyric comes from. All-Star 20. Yeah. But nonetheless, yeah. It kind of made me be like, damn, how the fuck did he do that? But either way, he had a master class on long distance shooting. I mean, at the end of the day, I thought it was unbelievable. And of course, the one that was damn near from half court where he threw it up and turned around and just started running. See, a lot of people like the picture of the one where he turned around and looked at him. He's like, did it go in? And like everybody is literally looking at the ball going, but he's pointing down at them. It's a cool picture. Like, that's cool shit. Like, there are stuff from the All-Star game that are always like synonymous. Like that the picture of Kobe and Jordan is a synonymous picture of those two on each other.
The LeBron picture with Spike in the Morehouse gear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The last play.
Yeah.
Obviously, LeBron coming through and, what are the chances? And with Jordan in the house hitting basically an MJ type fadeaway, albeit it wasn't as, as smooth and as good looking as Jordan would make it look, but he's made it, and it was LeBron style, and it was in Cleveland. So
it was, I listened to the TBS cast with Shaq, Ernie, Draymond, Kenny, which was so much better than whatever Reggie and D Wade was doing. I didn't want to hear that cornball.
Kevin Harlan.
Yeah. But it was so entertaining, and it was nice to hear Shaq and Charles talk about, like, hey, this is what the All-Star game is about. It's about giving the fans a show. And I think with the Elam ending, we found the perfect balance of, all right, we're not going to play real defense, but in the last, minute and a half of the quarter, we're going to try to keep this shit close because we want to win it at the end. So I thoroughly enjoyed the game. The dunks were great, like seeing Ja catch that 360. Joel Embiid had the nice windmill. There was so much. There's so much going on in that game that, for me, it made up for the terrible slam dunk contest. Because, dog, how could you, how would Ja, Embiid, DeJounte Murray having better game dunks?
Fucking Rudy Gobert had like a 360 in the game.
And they're doing it effortlessly in the game. And you're like, this is better than everything I saw last night.
It was, man. And it's just, it's sick that the dunk contest, after having maybe arguably the best one ever in 2017.
Levine and Aaron Gordon, absolutely.
You could definitely, and as a kid, man, especially when I went to these basketball camps, I remember I won MVP of a camp out here, and the prize they gave me was a video, a VHS.
Okay.
It was on basketball, but a portion of it, if it was an hour long, 20 minutes of it was about the dunk contest. And so I remember, because this is before YouTube and stuff. So I'm seeing this on VHS. It was, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Dr. J. It went through Kenny Skywalker with the Knicks. He had some crazy dunks. Obviously, it went all the way up to Vince Carter. And so seeing that stuff and just seeing what the dunk contest had become, it just was sick. I mean, it's sick when you really think about it, because it's just how do you guys ruin what's damn near sometimes would upstage the All-Star game? You know what I mean? All-Star Saturday night. I don't understand how it just got so bad. Even the one here, which Toscano Anderson tried to duplicate it, doing the Jay Rich dunk, because he did that one here. Mm-hmm. And man, it's just a damn shame what's happened to the dunk contest.
Well, here's some of it. The stars aren't in it, and let's be honest, the stars aren't even there to create the environment. LeBron made it cool not to be in the dunk contest, so a lot of the stars aren't participating in it anymore. And the players make so much damn money that the guys who are actually participating in it aren't even the great leapers, because Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, they weren't stars, but they were some of the best dunkers in the league. I would love to see an Ant-Man be in the dunk contest. He's not a superstar yet, but he's on that level to where Ant-Man's gonna give us something nasty.
Next year.
I would love to have seen Ja in it. So with the money, there's no incentive to join if you're, if you're not a Juwan Toscano Anderson. And then, bruh, we've seen every single dunk. And then you got these random dunkers on YouTube and Instagram who are professional dunkers, and you see the wild stuff that they do. Look, if I'm a professional basketball player, I really don't have time to be a professional dunker. And you got these teams and these agents saying, hey, don't go out there and get hurt and mess up your money, mess up the season. So I just think that it's a bunch of things that are working against the dunk contest. And it's similar to the NFL Pro Bowl now that it's like, hey, we got to be here. We got to do this, but we want to do it in the least the least injury prone way possible. And it's like, you got to accept the risk if you're going to do it, man.
Yeah, but are you really going to get hurt? I don't think I've ever seen anyone get hurt in the dunk contest.
Well, no.
There's a better chance you get hurt in the All-Star game than you do the dunk contest. And I say that because, yeah, you could fall on your ankle pretty bad, I guess. But, like, you know, these guys still, I'm sure that unless you know at the start of the year, like, oh, I'm going to enter the dunk contest, their prep is literally from whenever their last game is up until that Saturday night, right? And, like, guys that like Ja are so effortless with it. And you know that back in high school and in college, Ja was getting these dunks off in practice. After practice, them niggas were clowning around and doing some crazy shit.
And they're probably still doing that now because I was listening to, I want to say it was either All the Smoke or Knuckleheads, and T-Mac was on there talking about the epic dunk contest with Vince Carter. And he was like, yeah, bro, we would just be doing shit after practice. And then, oh, it's time for the dunk contest. We just trying shit. And then you get in there and you just try shit like on the fly because you're just a dunker, you know? And I think because man, it's societal. We've become such a smart society that we are focusing on efficiencies, and you get so focused on efficiency and shit. And it's like, dude, some things are just pretty, and it doesn't have to be efficient.
Doesn't it feel like it used to be a rite of passage, though? Like to do it, doesn't it feel like that's what that was? Like, because like you said, LeBron not do it because
bring back stretch hummers.
Point being, why do we need to bring back stretch hummers?
When did anybody ever need a stretch hummer?
Never.
But that shit was fire.
It was unique to look at because you're so used to just seeing a Lincoln as a fucking limo. But I'm just saying, Dr. J at one point was the matter of fact, that's a 70s basketball player. Dr. J was at one point the face of basketball. Then it gets passed down to Jordan, you know. And then from Jordan, Kobe did the dunk contest. He won. You know, but like you said, LeBron kind of made it cool to not do it. And I get it. Somebody like LeBron, no, he doesn't have anything to prove. We know that he can jump out the gym, and we've seen him do in-game dunks that are better than, you know, the best dunks in the dunk contest on other years, not including this bad year, like just other years. Like Josh Smith, the year he won, LeBron's had a crazier in-game dunk than that. Like, you know what I mean? And
you remember, I think it was like either right after Kobe passed. It was something around some Kobe time when LeBron hit the Kobe reverse and he was like full extension on the under. You're like,
yeah,
oh, you're 35. Why are you doing this on a fast break?
Right.
Off like catch the ball three dribbles and he's doing it. There's no like wind up to it. It's just like, I'll do this.
Yeah.
But no, we can blame LeBron for this. We can definitely blame LeBron.
I am blaming him because it's like everybody's always wanted to see him in it. And so it's just like, but we know we're not going to get it. And if we were going to get it, this year would have been the year because you're back home. You did the dunk contest in high school. And I think that was in Ohio too. The year that he did. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, man, way to ruin it for the rest of us, LeBron. I mean, Ja Morant, they asked him after the game too, you know, Ja, you know, everybody's been talking about it. You know, your dunk's here tonight. He's like, would you do it? He said, I mean, I'd think about it, but he said, like, as of now, he's like, that answer's no. He said, that's why I didn't do it. And then like, was just like looking at the camera straight. And it's just like, Adam Silver needs to open up the checkbook and tell these guys, look, winner gets a meal.
It ain't more than that.
A quick meal to win. And then second place, runner-up gets $500, and then the other two get $250.
Parlay Pete.
They paying these niggas $40K to win. Like,
Parlay Pete, if you're making a
quick meal,
if you're making $25 million a year,
a quick meal, it's still a meal.
I know. To me, I'm doing it.
You got it.
But when you're making 25, 30 million a year just on the court, not to get into what you're making off the court, it's like, My team, again, the organization doesn't want you doing it because they don't want you to get hurt. It's bullshit.
They put together the perfect four for next year. You need Ant-Man, John Morant, Miles Bridges, and then it was one more person who's
don't say Street Clothes 2.0.
Yeah, I think it was him that they had in the picture, but it had in parentheses too. It said, "If not injured."
Man, look, if he shows up to All-Star Weekend next year, this is what he gonna walk into the gym with. And they ain't coming off because he ain't changing shoes. He gonna be in there some slides and some Jordan gear because his big ass probably can't even fit in the regular shoes no more because his feet swole up and they ain't comfortable.
Probably. You want to know who would fix all this? And this is just to piss you off.
David Stern?
No, Jay-Z. Get Jay-Z involved with All-Star Weekend. I'm sure that he could pull some strings.
So, you know what? I was listening to some different fixes to the dunk contest. I think, for one, getting rid of all these damn attempts is one easy fix. But Kevin Wildes, he said it wasn't his, but he was on Bill Simmons' podcast. I recommend it if you haven't heard it. It's pretty good. And he said, like, come up with like a 90-second routine, like match them up with some people, and it's almost like a figure skating, and you're doing like a series of dunks, you know, some easy, some difficult, but obviously the crescendo is going to be some dope shit. And so it's the dunkers putting their routines together and competing against the other person's routine.
I think that would be good. That, or like I said, you could go out because, you know, one year, or they might have did it twice. They had the fucking spin, the wheel where it picked your dunk and you had to attempt. They would, you know, show the video of the past dunk and you had to attempt it. It made it entertaining because depending on who you got, like if Nate Robinson were in a dunk contest like that, and he's a 3-time champion, right? If he were in it, but they gave him the Vince Carter dunk, sticking the chicken bone, I don't think Nate Robinson, as high as that nigga can jump, I don't think that he could pull that off. So, like, it would be entertaining, at least in a way of when we see people miss or failed attempts, it would be entertaining to at least see somebody like him attempt it. Like, as opposed to going out there and Juan Toscano Anderson can't nail a dunk. Like Jalen Green, they're not even making the dunks. Like, they're giving them sixes because they can't make a dunk.
And the wild thing is, hey, 1 to 10, stop doing 6 to 10, bro. They grown men. Let them get their feelings hurt for it too. Or maybe we get some of these dunkers off Instagram and bring like 2 of them in there and say, hey, man,
I was thinking,
hey, if you win it, here's $2 million and a G League tryout.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, let's get creative with this because at the end of the day, we want the most. Fans want to see the best product, and the league wants the best results from their product. And you look at it from this perspective. In the Saturday night stuff too, they had Team Anthony Kumpo, and their third brother doesn't play in the NBA. So you incorporated somebody not in the NBA into that. So what would be the problem with getting somebody that everybody's seen on YouTube do it? You know what I mean? Either that or scrap the shit and give us a one-on-one basketball game or tournament to 5 between the best players in the NBA.
Or a legitimate game of horse. I know they did that bullshit virtual horse, but like a real game of horse with people in the gym. Like, come on, bro. Let me get Kyrie in there.
Yeah.
and see who's gonna beat him in horse. Or you know what? I like one-on-one better. Let's just get rid of it. Scrap it one-on-one.
Yeah. Everybody would love to see if he could ever be healthy. You'd love to see LeBron and Kevin Durant play a game of one-on-one. And all they got to do is go to 5, you know?
Yep. So where do we want to go from here? Do we want to talk more Bron, MJ, or do we want to go NBA 75?
Let's get straight to that 75, man.
All right. So the NBA 75 dominated the weekend. You know, not everybody, almost everybody's in town. Obviously, Scotty was scared to show up because MJ was there. It was a good chance Future might be there. So he was like, let me stay my ass where I be. I don't want to see Larsa running around with one of these young boys and ruining my whole weekend when I'm supposed to be getting acknowledged as a top 75 player in the NBA. But I thought it was a great ceremony. Some say it was long, but who cares? We don't get these often. but to see the top 75 players of the 75 years of the NBA come out there, I think it was a great showing. Before we start to before we take a shot at the list and talk about those who we think were snubbed, I just think we need to take some time and just acknowledge the greatness of this list and the players who made it.
Absolutely. It was, I mean, I thought it was special the whole time I was watching it. It was something that I was like, man, you really wish that this is something you wish you were there to see, because like you said, it doesn't happen often. And that's why it's okay that they did this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You only, hell, it's just like a birthday. You only turn 75 once. You only turn 21 once. You only turn 30 one time.
Yeah.
You know, this is what it's about. It's about living in that moment. And I think that the NBA, it was very tasteful the way they put it together. I wish I don't like JB Smooth personally. I wish that he wasn't one of the presenters, but I wish that they had gotten, like how they ended it with the young NBA players. I wish that was who kind of introduced it. The younger player generation introducing it, talking about the history, as opposed to Tiffany Haddish, Usher, and JB Smooth. But, you know, aside from that, you know,
what the fuck was Tiffany Haddish doing? Like, why?
She stumbled over her words, too, and messed up her monologue. And, you know, and I liked Spike kicking it off, because Spike is literally the ultimate fan. Him or Jack Nicholson, those are the two guys that when you think of, and of course, they're in the two biggest markets. But when you think of super fans in the NBA, you think of those two. And that other guy that looks like he's a rock star that's like at just random games all the time.
You know, I'm not too mad at Usher, because he is a minority owner in the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's super famous. It makes sense to have him there. But Tiffany Haddish, you know, some people just don't belong in some places. And Tiffany Haddish, you didn't belong there.
Yeah, they could have got Quavo, to be honest with you. I would have been okay with that, too. I mean.
So, like I said, you know, noticeably missing was Scottie Pippen. I really thought that was unfortunate. Tim Duncan wasn't there. Karl Malone.
Second in scoring. Obviously, Bill. But we understand Bill.
Yeah, he's older, COVID, all of that stuff.
And, of course, the biggest disappearance, which we knew he wasn't going to be there, but, you know, no Kobe. I think that everybody, you know, that was going to be the most emotional part, because how the fuck does Kobe not even make it to get to see this stuff? Like, it's unbelievable. I mean, I got a little teary-eyed, honestly, watching it, because, you know, like I said, it's my favorite player in any sport of all time. And it's just like, man, you're so used to seeing Kobe, and he was somebody that was giving back to the game too. Obviously, through his daughter, more so, in helping the WNBA, which he was going to help. That he was going to help with that, help grow that. And
he's the best league in the world.
Watching women's basketball, which I don't know what Kobe was on. You know, when it came to that, I still don't prefer to watch women, but I get it. He liked watching his girls play.
It's the best league in the world, Pierce.
According to who? Liz Cabbage? Is that who said that?
Yeah, OnlyFans. Yeah. It was sad not to see Kobe there. And, you know, it kind of put a lot of things into perspective. And we're not going to go down the conversation we had about pre-production for when the 100 comes out, man. Because, shit, when the 100 comes out, I'm going to be 55.
I know, but that's what makes something like this so special. Because, like I said, I even look at, like, my age, too. You know, I'll be 53. And so it's just kind of like, gosh, you know, time, it goes by quickly. And that's why it's good to have these moments in sports, because especially the All-Star game, being when they do it, of course, because it's just a celebration of basketball. And to be able to get in an anniversary like that, and the league still be intact, and like everything about it, and it's, you know, obviously as popular as it's ever been. Basketball is the second most popular sport in the world. You know, it's just great. And all the international players, you're getting to see guys like Dirk. Like, you know what I mean? Just to see how the game has grown. There was no international player. Well, Hakeem might have been on that 50 list.
Yeah, Hakeem was, but, you know, he somehow played for Dream Team 2 in 96.
I stay away from this. He probably was a citizen by then and didn't want to. I don't know why he wouldn't want to play for Nigeria. I guess he just wanted that gold medal. I don't know.
Yeah, you think Nigeria's getting a gold medal in basketball? Sorry, Precious is whatever his last name is.
OGN, no. Look, they got some guys.
They got some guys. They just don't have any gold medal guys.
local guy from around here in Stone Mountain, Al-Farouq Aminu.
Okay.
He's a guy that's typically on that team. He's Nigerian.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he went to Wake Forest and they did all right.
He was great. He's like one of the best players in the nation.
I remember.
Norcross was whooping.
Yeah, it was
ass. Yeah, they were like the top school.
But it was funny to see the KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen thing, and I know they took a picture after. I don't believe the beef is squash, and listening to some other people talk about it, that shit's deeper than basketball.
It is. I think that the NBA, because Paul Pierce put it up, but like I think that the NBA almost made it to where y'all need to, for the greater good of the league, you guys are a big part of, especially how the NBA is today, being the first team. Even though I get it, we've had big threes, McHale, Parrish, Bird.
First modern big three.
Well, first modern big three that was created not being drafted together.
Right.
That you basically, and you were in your, even they were all in their prime. They might have been the back end, but they were still in their primes when they got played. Unlike, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, and Hakeem Olajuwon. So I don't count that either, because they didn't win it. Those three did not win a title together. These guys came together first year, won the whole thing, went to a second one, and were a thorn in LeBron's ass until Ray did leave, essentially. I mean,
yeah, they needed the NBA like, hey, look, we're gonna make a book, and we need this for the book, guys. Like, take this damn picture.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture of like the banana boat guys and Dennis Rodman?
Yeah.
Where he throws his jacket off and run and takes the picture.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. It's the combinations that you can get out of this list of guys. Think about it. The fact that the banana boat, all four of them are top 75 players of all time,
and they're like best friends, and
all practically came in the same year. Chris Paul, I know, is the year after, but
2 years after. But he's the same high school class as LeBron. LeBron. Right. Melo's a year older than LeBron, and then D Wade's old as fuck.
Right, which is why he's the first one out of the league. But and he was injured more than. I mean, Chris Paul gets injured a lot too. Hell, he got injured during All-Star week. But
yo, did you see
he got 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
That is crazy. He's basically done for
the rest of the season,
almost until the playoffs. Yeah. But Phoenix will be all right without him.
Didn't Melo look like a dope boy out there?
Hey man, it's Melo though. Like, you know what I mean? Like you gotta think about it. When Melo first got into the league, I remember it was something about him beating somebody up like early in his career, like getting into fighting at a bar. And I know that this happens. Like Paul Pierce got stabbed at one before, right? And Melo's obviously, Syracuse pride.
Bro, no, Melo was a hood nigga. Have you listened to him on All the Smoke?
But I know obviously he's from Brooklyn and he grew up in Baltimore.
So he on his All the Smoke interview, he told them that David Stern called him, was like, hey man, I know who you're with, I know what they're doing. You're damn near the face of this league. If you want to stay in this league, you got to make some decisions.
I saw that clip. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did see that clip.
It's like, yo, it was interesting. It was interesting. What's up?
And then I was gonna say, and then we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this nigga Jordan pointing at Magic, saying that's the old dog right there, and then challenging him to a game of one-on-one and being dead fucking serious about it.
Oh yeah, they would have went to the practice facility right then and there and hooped if it was up to him.
Jordan would have whooped Magic Johnson's ass in a game of basketball today.
Do you think Magic Johnson does much physical?
No, that's my point. And Jordan, I know golfs. Like, he golfs probably every day. But, like, still, Jordan, I mean, how often does Jordan go into the gym, you think, and pick up a ball?
Shit.
You think he does? I know he got a gym at his house, but you think he shoots every day still?
Nah, I think he's in there 2-3 times a week, though.
Okay.
I think he does enough lifting because, like, he's not bad bodied.
He's big. I mean, think about it. You called him in your Kobe rant, fat ass Michael Jordan. All right. So you said that. I'm quoting you. You did.
He was fat looking back then when he was on the Wizards. I think there are players in the NBA that Michael Jordan could beat today in a game of one-on-one.
I agree. I think that there was a story once where with the Hornets, like he did tell somebody that.
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. They say he would bust Michael Kidd-Gilchrist's ass, which is why he's out of the league now.
But, I mean, it's Jordan. And think about Jordan. The thing about Jordan is, too, he had a crazy-ass mid-range game. Like, probably the best mid-range game of all time.
Bro, that is one-on-one.
I know. That's what I'm saying. All you got to do is catch it, get just enough separation, and when you can shoot like that, you're going to make it all every time. I mean, that's why he said, fuck them kids, bro. He wasn't going to miss that. Shooting at the top of the key, Jordan wasn't going to miss no shot like that.
You know what, though? Here's what I thought was overblown, and we're not going to go into the MJ versus LeBron conversation yet because I'm going to tee you up for that one. Okay. But MJ receiving a louder reception than LeBron, I think that was such bullshit clickbait. They're like, well, in Cleveland, Michael Jordan gets more praise than LeBron. Yo, it wasn't a Cleveland Cavaliers home game. It was a fucking all-star game. There's an international crowd there. This is not just a Cleveland crowd. Guess what? Most people who go to Cleveland games, who sit in the 320s, they can't fucking afford to go to the all-star game. Okay? So you're not going to get boos from
a lot of the people in the 100s might not be able to.
Right. So you got to understand, like, this is a totally different crowd. This is a corporate crowd. This is much like the Super Bowl crowd. It's usually more neutral than it is anything else. So if we're going to say, is Michael Jordan more popular than LeBron? No fucking shit. Like, that's not a revelation that Michael Jordan is the most popular basketball player of all time.
Arguably, maybe the most popular athlete ever.
Right, and I just won't get into that because you got like those soccer players on social media, and I know we don't care about them over here in America.
Them niggas be wearing Jordan on their jerseys too, and so I'm just saying. I mean, we can't ignore the jump man. You see the jump man everywhere. So hell, the jump man. I'm not saying the jump man is more popular than Nike, but shit,
Nike owes Jordan a lot of money.
They do.
And they've paid him a lot, but they owe him a lot more.
He propelled, because think about his first sneaker has a Nike check on it. So, I mean, you know, he's obviously who propelled Nike.
Absolutely. Like
he made Nike what Nike is. Kind of like and I'm not saying he's doing this, but I mean, Kanye is propelling Adidas in my opinion, because so many people wear Yeezys now.
But yeah.
You could argue that literally, I mean, obviously everybody still wears their Forces and, you know, you got these other variations of shoes, but when it comes to most popular shoes, it's probably Jordans and Yeezys.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I just wanted to get that out there. I thought that was a little overplayed, but there were some snubs from the list this year. Some would say, of those snubs, I think that Dwight Howard was the biggest one. I don't really care how you feel about him. I don't care if you don't like his game. If you just look at what he did, he was the Orlando Magic haven't been the same since he left. Arguably the best center of his generation. And there's not much argument, if we're being honest. He's the best center of his generation. Arguably one of the best defensive centers of all time. There's no way in hell Dame Lillard makes this list. Anthony Street Clothes Davis makes this list, and Dwight Howard gets left off of it.
You know, rumor is that's why they got to scuffling in that second game of the season, that it was over that. Nah, I'm kidding. But,
I believe it.
But no, you know, it's funny. Me and Evan had put something up on Instagram on Sunday night. Shout outs to Evan. And I had replied to it because basically the tweet was that T-Mac was the biggest snub. And I said, I agree that T-Mac probably should have been on it. I said, I can't speak for a lot of those 60s and 70s players. I said, but the biggest snub was obviously Dwight Howard. I said, T-Mac was hurt a lot. I feel like that hurt him literally from being on a lock on the list. I said, Dwight Howard, no excuse. 3-time defensive player of the year, a generation's best center. doesn't make it. How does that happen? He's a 9-time All-Star. He's like All NBA first team like 5 times, and then he's on the second and third like 3 other times too. How does he not make it? He was the best player on a team that went to the finals. He ran into Kobe. He had to play LeBron and the Celtics every year, being the best player on his team. Like I went to a fucking Hawks playoff game, and obviously he's from Atlanta, or maybe he's from not Atlanta. I would have to double check on that, but I think he's from Atlanta. But if not, he's from not Atlanta. Nonetheless, local kid,
ish.
He plays plays the Hawks, and I'm there, man. This motherfucker went for like 48 and 24, and I couldn't believe this is in a playoff game.
Bro, was that the game that they were selling
regarding him?
Were those did you go to that game when they were selling tickets outside the cafe at Morehouse?
Was it when he was with Orlando?
Yes.
With Orlando, really?
It was with Orlando. It was your freshman year. They were selling tickets outside the cafe at Morehouse. Dwight went crazy in a playoff game against the Hawks, and I got tickets for like $30 to the Highlight Factory.
We had season tickets, so I was just at the game.
Oh, okay.
We had let me tell you, man, we had season tickets for a long time. But Hawks season tickets are expensive. Like they're more expensive than Falcons tickets. And for no good reason.
And who wants to go to all those damn games?
You can't. There would be nights where we would want to give them away and we couldn't give them away. I mean, it's just too many games. I mean, if you live where I live now, sure, it's easy to kind of just walk there and do it. But who wants to, like, sometimes, dog, it's Wednesday, man. What I'm not really trying to do is be at a game, drinking, having drinks, and like having to get back to my life in the morning. Eating food that's not good for you, every other day. So let's get to the guys who we will put on the top 100, because I don't want to dwell on the snubs too much, because I think it is disrespectful to the guys who made the list, even though I just kicked Dame Lillard off the list. I just think we should dwell on, on the positive side of the house. So you pitched a topic, man. Who would you have on your top 100 list? What do you think is going to be on the top 100 in 25 years? Well, like I said, the first person that we talked about, before we got on, Nikola Jokic. I mean, he, to me, has got to be a slam dunk to get on this thing. He's already an MVP. He's only 27. I think he's a 5-time All-Star. He's got to be probably All-NBA first team at least twice already. And he's probably made the team, the second or the third team too within those years. The man is a 7-1 walking triple-double. And he's taking his team to the West Finals. He's having to go – these guys are going against – now they're going against LeBron in the West, well, which nobody's really going against LeBron anymore. But you're having to go against Steph Curry. Well, I'm just saying the Lakers ain't about fearing that shit. But Devin Booker. Devin Booker. Like, you're going – the West is just oozing with good teams. And so, he would be the first person I would think of. I think you had already said this one too before we got on, but Ja Morant is somebody I could easily see getting there. I think that Ja is going to end up being a much more efficient and healthier version of Russell Westbrook. Maybe not as Mr. Triple-Double-ish. He doesn't have to get the numbers, but he's more of a winner. He's probably going to win more. Yeah. And he'll still be giving people, because think about it, he's in year 3. Yeah, year 3. He's in year 3, makes his first All-Star game. He's going to be making this team every year unless he's injured. From here on out, he's a starter this year. Fuck it. We didn't even say him, but, man, Trae Young will probably be on the list. I mean, you tell me what's wrong with that. I gotta see another playoff run, and I know it's early. He's already done more for the Hawks than anyone else, including a guy that was on that list. That guy that was on that list has like a career average of 25 a game. 27. There we go. Isn't it kind of crazy that Dominique Wilkins was scoring like that? I mean, but then again, he was dunking the ball almost every other play.
I wrestled with Trae Young on my list. Let me see who else I got. I got Luka. I don't think there's an argument or conversation about that. Luka's there.
Well, when they do have the 100 team, they're going to pull up the 75th anniversary highlight of Michael Jordan coming up and hugging him.
Yeah,
that was that's think about it. Obviously outside of the fact that he's going to be raking in so much money for Jordan for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
we're talking what could become, because right now Dirk holds that title. What could become maybe the greatest European basketball player of all time.
I think so. He's going to have to figure out how to dial it down a little bit and turn into a more winning player and not just the stat stuffer that he is, because in the playoffs, he still puts up big numbers. But
sounds like Trae Young to me, but with the playoff run. That's all I'm saying. And they're going to be in together, obviously,
I wrestled with Trae. I really did. I did wrestle with Trae. So I'm not totally mad at it. I got Embiid. I think he's a lock. T-Mac's a lock. Clay is a lock, and guess what? I'm not mad that Clay didn't make the 75 team. I don't think he should have been on the 75 team.
He hasn't played in 2 years.
He hasn't played in 2 years, and he just shoots. He's a good shooter and scorer, and
before he got hurt,
and a good defender. But like, if you look at his assists, his rebounds, he doesn't do much else, So I struggled with the argument for Clay on the 75, but I think he'll make the 100 just because he'll 3-point percentage, rings and such. Who else I got?
Yeah, he's one half of the Splash Brothers.
Exactly.
So yeah, Draymond.
I added Draymond to the list, like, since we've been over here talking. I think Draymond should definitely be on the top 100.
He might just be,
because Draymond is one of the best defenders of his era. And he's the guy who doesn't show up in the stat sheet that makes the Warriors go. Like, he is that secondary facilitator who just, how you play basketball with certain people and they just can feel the game the whole time, and you feel their impact and their presence, and they don't have the pretty numbers at the end of the game. That's Draymond. We're like Zach LaVine most of his career, or his teammate Andrew Wiggins, who'll fill up a stat sheet and you go, did Wiggins play today?
Or you mean Wiggins' other old teammate, Cat. People like Cat, Kevin Love. Why does it feel like people go to Minnesota just to put up numbers and not do anything?
Why was Cat so happy that MJ shitted on him?
For what it's worth?
I mean, it's Minnesota. They're cursed.
They did that one in it. And everybody says that too. Vikings.
You're right by KG.
Vikings,
Oh, yeah, the Vikings are cursed too.
Missing kicks against the Falcons when they hadn't missed a kick in 2 years or something.
My last one for the 100 that I think will ruffle little feathers. Uncle Drew, Kyrie.
I had no problem with that, though. I think that he would definitely be somebody that would be on it. And of course, we can't see the future of the guys that are in college now, some people that are in high school.
Yeah.
Now, if you came out and you said Bronny or, that's such an ESPN. I bet ESPN would say something.
You know what?
Or you said Mikey.
You know what? No, stay on Bronny, because we're going to run this transition. So Bronny, LeBron talked about wanting to play with Bronny before his career ended.
And before we get into that, just one more name to add, possibly. Watch out for Jason Tatum.
I'm not mad at that at all, and I should have had him on the list.
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum is the top 12 player in the league right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, he's top 15 for sure.
But let's talk about Bronny. LeBron talked about he wants to end his career with Bronny. And, I've heard a lot of different arguments for and against this. Here's the ones that I don't like. I don't like the people projecting their insecurities on LeBron and Bronny, saying, well, this is putting too much pressure on his son. Bruh, that's his son. They talk. They've talked about him playing. They've talked about playing together. I think it's more of something he says in jest. He's serious about it, but I think there's a realization in that house that Bronny may not make the league as a one and done. He's ranked like 30. He's like the 34 point guard in his league. He's more of a combo guard. It's hard to find his stats. I saw something on Facebook today saying he averages only like 6 points per game. But that
right?
He's a junior, but that could be misleading because he's playing with Amari Bailey and some other high-end prospects at Sierra Canyon.
You mean Drake's stepson?
Ex-stepson, I think, now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But, like, you know, when you're playing at those powers, like we talked about Al-Farouq Aminu earlier, his senior year, he only averaged 13 points per game, and he was a top recruit in the country. Why? Because he was on a really good team. And when you're on these really good teams, your high school stats don't always tell the story. And then some people were saying, well, how that's going to fit in the locker room. When you're 20 years old, you don't want to be around your dad. Dog, they're not going to be hanging out like that. Like, it's a little bit different. And what a lot of these media guys are forgetting is that most of these young players in the league, their families live with them now. They're not doing the whole, I'm moving all my partners from the crib into the mansion. They have their moms, their dads, their siblings. And so this isn't something new to the NBA. And then I heard one argument, well, what's going to happen if he's not good enough and the team just takes him? Yo, why are the Antetokounmpo brothers on us all over the NBA? Why is LiAngelo Ball in the G League right now? Why did J.R. Smith's brother get some run in the G League? Why did Michael Jordan's son get to go play at Illinois? You know what? When you have power and influence, and if it's something like, hey, we want to sell tickets and jerseys, so just to get Bron and Bronny together, we want to get this NFT off. You know what, man? Teams are going to do it because to a lot of us, sports is entertainment, and we care about the wins and the losses. But these owners, they care about the bottom line. And in getting LeBron to your city, getting Bron and Bronny together on the court, you think Orlando would do some shit like that, not caring about wins and losses? I mean, they don't care about wins and losses now, and this would make so much more money, exponentially more money for that franchise. So I think it's going to happen, and it's not going to matter if Bronny is good enough or he's not. Austin Rivers played for his dad and got paid, and guess what? He proved to be an NBA player. Seth Curry spent a lot of time in the G League playing for the Golden State Warriors affiliate, and guess what? He's now become an NBA starter. Some people show up and they're ready, and other people need to be developed more. But Bronny's still a top player in his class. He has the pedigree. He has his dad behind him. He's gonna make it to the NBA, and he's gonna fucking have a cup of coffee as long as he fucking wants to, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I think that, like you just said, too many people projecting their insecurities and just not looking at it from the bigger picture of how cool is that going to be. That's never happened in the NBA. I know that the Griffeys played together. And I don't even know how many times they even got to do that, especially because with baseball, how often are you actually even defensively on the field or in the lineup together? You know what I mean? But with basketball, and
they had the back-to-back home runs though.
Yeah, I'm saying how many times did they even get to really do that too? You know, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But like with LeBron, the thought would be he possibly, depending on, let's see, he may not have passed Kareem yet. And it being his swan song too, he'll probably be passing, to being the all-time leading scorer. It's a lot to like about it. And so what if Bronny's not good enough? It's LeBron's league now. Like it still is. And even once he retires, yeah, he might not be the best player in the league, but he'll still be the greatest unless the Warriors rattle off 3 or more in a row. And, Steph gets, he gets to 6 or something like that. But, it'll still be LeBron's league until he's gone. And so at the end of the day, he calls the shots. And if an NBA team wants to do it, they're going to do it. Some people think that maybe the Thunder will still be bad enough and have Sam Presti, and maybe that's why he said that. I don't know, but
I don't think he wants to exile Bronny to OKC after he retires. But
maybe the Cavs look like they're going to be good. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the Cavs are going to entertain that nonsense because they actually have a good core there that they can actually move forward with. I was having a conversation with a friend who played overseas, man, and he was like, "What isn't really reported from like 8 or 9 to 15 in the NBA to about your high-end overseas players, there's not much difference. It's just fit, opportunity. What was your high school ranking? Where did you go to college? Who do you know? What role are you comfortable being in? Like, some people don't want to play in the NBA and be the 12th man on the end of the bench and not get burned. They much rather go overseas so they can actually play basketball. So I think there is like an underreported, I won't say under, it's like an unreported like delta between, I don't know, who's the 12th man on somebody's bench?
The guy that doesn't dress. Okay, like for the Hawks, Sharif Cooper would probably be one of those. He'd probably be like the 12th dude on the Hawks.
Right. And Sharif Cooper gets to play on a two-way so he can actually go develop in the G League. But there are guys overseas who will run circles around Sharif Cooper, but they're 32. It's like, we're not investing in your old ass.
Right. You remember that old guy the Lakers signed? I think it was the first
Andre Ingram.
Yeah, that dude was like 35, 36 playing in the G League. And then he got to finally play his first NBA game.
And he was fine. Like, he was a serviceable NBA player. But it's like, dude, you're 35. We're not investing in you.
Right.
But speaking of old people, and here's what's become a very old argument. And I think Chuck Barkley has kind of the best spin on this. It's stupid. If you're going to have the MJ versus LeBron conversation, and especially if you're going to have it as often as they have it on ESPN and FS1, it just becomes like, do you have talent, or are you just trying to say something to get ratings? And I think it's an interesting conversation if you frame it properly. And I don't really want to compare Michael Jordan versus LeBron James to one another's just career side by side anymore, because I think you lose a lot of the context, the nuance of both of their careers. MJ was in a league that was much more strong at the beginning of his career, and that weakened out. You know, there was expansion during MJ's prime,
and it was dominated by big men. Big men were the attraction,
and it was a 2-point league, and the league kind of played into MJ's favor as his career progressed. You take LeBron, it was still a big man-ish league, but it was starting to become a forward guard league. Not really guard league. It's never been like a guard league, unless you're going to call it, unless we're talking shooting guards, but wing league, you know. It became more of a wing league, but mid LeBron's prime, as he has the cheat code to building up the perfect team through free agency, player empowerment, comes the 3-point revolution and the Curry shit. And it's like, well, damn, I'm more of an old school player. I'm not this crazy 3-point shooter, and threes count more than two. And these young, cheap players are shooting these threes. And LeBron was able to pivot. But LeBron was also in a more talented league. And this is not me trying to cop please for LeBron. I'm not. LeBron has a different mindset towards basketball. He plays the game differently. MJ was a score first guy. LeBron James is what's the right play to make, no matter what the result is. So when people try to throw around the scoring titles, he goes, well, dude, LeBron didn't try to score as much, so he's not going to have the scoring titles, you know? Like, I just think that's a weak argument.
Well, and then there were better scorers in the league even when LeBron's in it. AI was still a prolific scorer when LeBron got
it. Yeah, T-Mac, Melo.
T-Mac, Melo, KD.
D-Wade, KD, James Harden.
There's so many guys. Hell, Westbrook at one point, because he led the league in scoring one year.
I know.
Harden. I mean, so like it's not fair to compare, because when I think of the scorers of the 90s, I mean, who is the second best? And I asked this question. Who was the second best shooting guard in the NBA when
Clyde Drexler?
And he was older, towards the more of the Jordan prime.
Right.
He was older. And then, you know, when I think of name, I think of guys like Mitch Richmond. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a guy that probably made 4 or 5 All-Star games, you know, might have been on the All-90s team on 2K back in 2K3 when AI used to be on the front, you know, or on the NBA Live, you know, All-90s team. This was a guy that was on the team, played for the Kings, but you don't know anything about him, you know? Like,
but they're forgotten.
Chris Mullin was a shooting guard too, right?
Who?
Chris Mullin.
Yeah, Chris Mullin.
These are guys that were the shooting guards. Then you had Reggie, you know, Reggie,
or a young Ray Allen, a young Kobe, a young AI. Like, so And I really hate the 6 for 6 argument because I go, hold on, you're rewarding somebody for getting beat earlier in the playoffs than going deeper in the playoffs because of the finals record. I think that's just a terrible argument. You know, it's like, hold on, since when was 6 finals more than 10 finals? Now, if you want to go 6 versus 4, no argument. Well, slight argument because who's your competition? Who did you play going to the finals? Did Charles? Did we ever think that that Patrick Ewing and the Knicks were a championship team? Stop it.
They don't look like they're built that way. I mean, I can name their starting 5, and that's about it. I can't really tell you much about the bench, but what? So the first half of that, wasn't Pat Riley the coach on the first half of those Knicks teams?
Yeah, he was.
I know the back half. I don't know when Van Gundy took over. I guess when Pat went to Miami, but
Van Gundy.
And Van Gundy took him to the finals.
Van Gundy was a good coach, but I look at all of it and I say they played in different eras. There's totally different context, you know, like a MJ and Kobe comparison is a little bit better because there's some crossover. A Kobe and LeBron comparison is a little bit better because there's a lot of crossover. But at the end of the day, if you're going to make the argument, the GOAT argument, look at what they did in the totality of their careers versus their peers.
And it's the same thing with boxing. And the first thing that came to my mind, obviously most people are like Ali versus Tyson or something like that. You know, and then you've got Foreman, you've got all these guys, even Floyd being in different weight classes. You're just like, well, who's the better boxer or whatever. And then it brought me to this thing that I thought in my head. You've seen Rocky Balboa, the movie?
No.
All right. In the movie Rocky Balboa, they had it was like it's technically kind of the last Rocky movie. Mm-hmm. They had Rocky 5, and then there was Rocky Balboa that came out in the 2000s. And the main villain was Mason the Line Dixon. Right. And it's this black dude that's 6'4", and they did a fight of them on the boxing game on the I don't know what those are called on EA Sports. It's not just called boxing, it's called something.
Knockout or Fight Night.
Yep. And so
hit him with the left.
They had a simulation of Rocky fighting this guy who was the best of his generation to just cross over the fight, and they had Rocky winning because most people tend to lean on the side of what they've seen in totality. Jordan's career is over. LeBron's isn't. So LeBron can still write chapters. We know what Jordan's book is. You know what I mean? We know what that is. He's had all of his highlights. He's done everything that he can do. We've now got the 10-part documentary, you know, that documented this whole entire thing. So we know what Jordan is. So and of course, the younger the generation gets, because the less you saw Jordan, the more you were going to lean towards, well, who I saw. That's why for me, I mean, I got to see, like you said, it's fair to compare LeBron and Kobe more than anything. I mean, I got to see both of them. And so, like, you know, I mean, obviously I'm a Kobe fan though. And so there is a little biasness, but I do, and I truly believe that Kobe was the better player, in my opinion. I think that LeBron's done more, but I think that Kobe's a better player. And so, even at his position, I think that he did his position a little bit better than LeBron, honestly.
I don't want to get into that type of
He's a better scorer and a better defender.
Huh?
He's a better scorer and a better defender. Kobe was an excellent. Kobe's a fucking 10-time first. He has like the record.
Yeah, I know. I know, but
perimeter defender.
Yeah, I know. Kobe was a great perimeter defender.
Him dying probably even really makes him, because obviously whenever anyone dies, especially young, your legacy, it gets even bigger than what it, and his was already huge. You know, he's big as fucking China. Like, you know what I mean? Like Chinese people love Kobe Bryant. Like,
yeah, it's just one of those things for me, man. And you talk about when the book is already written, you can talk about how good it is because you've read it all the way through. And if, you know, you've written papers before, you can have a decent paper and a great conclusion, and that gets you an A. And you know what? The conclusion of MJ's career is the Last Dance, and we've got to watch it. And it's a 10-part documentary that we watched during like the best time that you could ever watch a 10-part documentary because the world was shut down. Nothing was going on. It's like COVID stopped so MJ could like just restart this GOAT debate and get his credit. And then you got people saying, oh my God, after watching the documentary, MJ is the GOAT. Bro, watch the games. The documentary doesn't tell you anything new about who he was on the fucking court. I'm sorry. Like, I learned about him more off the court. I learned more about the team and the politics around the team. But the product on the court, I've seen the highlights.
What that was. Yeah,
I
we've seen
watched
the
the
highlight
games.
tapes.
And
He did unbelievable shit. I mean,
and for the younger crowd, I'm okay with people, even people our age, like gaining shit from the documentary. But I'm not trying to hear Skip Bayless or Chris Broussard, who covered Michael Jordan, tell me that, oh God, after this one, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, and the thing with Jordan too is just, and this debate you could talk about this for forever. Jordan, when you look at Jordan, because you can, he played in two different eras, because he did play in the 80s and he did play in the 90s. And he played, pretty much equal amount of years in both, because he's drafted in 84, rookie of the year, 85. So that's 6 years.
Get his head beat in.
Yeah, of getting his head beat in, losing in the first, second, and then towards the end of that 80s, losing in the East Finals to Zeke and Dumars and Rodman. Then he breaks the seal, sends them home because he's losing to the Celtics. Then he's losing to them. Then he breaks the seal, gets to the finals, plays against a Lakers team post Kareem. So you still had Worthy in a getting old Magic in because these guys' shelf life wasn't the same. Larry Bird only played 12 years in the NBA,
and Worthy had a bad hamstring.
Yeah, and so you beat them, then you play Clyde. He's still in his prime. It's just it's the back end of the prime. Mm-hmm. Equivalent to that Celtics team that won in 2008. Those guys were still in their prime, but they were on the back end of it. And then who did he beat the third? He beat Barkley.
93. That's Barkley.
He beat Barkley in his prime. Probably the best Barkley's ever been. He beat him. Then he retires, comes back, loses to Shaq in the playoffs that year.
No, he didn't.
The 45 year, that is who they lost.
That never happened. He didn't lose. He didn't lose in the playoffs. We're talking about Michael Jordan. Once he won his first ring, he didn't lose in the playoffs ever again.
What it is he came back in like March, so he caught like the end of the. I know but I'm just saying.
On the court. You're on the court. It happened.
He was, and they lost. I think they got swept.
It was like, yeah, they did.
I think they got swept, and if they didn't get swept, they lost in like 5 or something. And so, nonetheless, lose to Shaq and Horace Grant. Then you come back and then you do it. You go 72-10. You beat a solid Sonic team, I guess. With Gary Payton is on that 75 list. Some consider the best defensive point guard ever.
And
Sean modern back then's the first Blake Griffin.
You know what? And George Karl wouldn't let Gary Payton check MJ until they were like down 3-0. And that's when they got the 2 games off of them. It's like, hey, why would you not put your best defender on their best offensive player?
And Gary Payton's not a short point guard. He's like 6'4".
He's like 6'4". And yeah. Gary had like a tender hamstring or something like that. There was like some injury behind it. But it's still like, no, you let Gary lock up on MJ. And MJ struggled in that series when Gary Payton was on him. He said he did in the documentary. But, we say a lot of things. Like I've told a lie before. Believe it or not, I've told a lie.
All right. Nonetheless, Jordan, he got the ring. And then you play against what some considered at the time, certainly maybe the greatest duo. I mean, even though they hadn't won, you can't argue with it. John Stockton still leads the NBA all-time in assists. Still leads the NBA all-time in assists. And Karl Malone is second in scoring in the NBA history. And he's another guy that averaged like 27 points. His career average is very high. And Karl doesn't get his credit. He was not bad with the Lakers. He just was hurt half the time. When that team got put together, he was just hurt half the time. Plus, I imagine playing with Shaq, those 2 big bodies, that was probably really hard to do. Not enough spacing.
What was spacing in 2004?
Well, Kobe's got to do his work. So it's just like, what, is Gary and Derek Fisher taking turns giving it to Shaq? I don't know how that was going to work anyways. And we saw, obviously, when they played against a well-rounded team that was defensive-minded, they lose in 5. And so, but Jordan, his legacy is already written, and that's why we shouldn't, compare him to LeBron, and they're 2 different eras.
Exactly. And I'll tell you the one thing that makes Jordan such a which makes George resonate so much better with the common person is, we get to see a lot more of his flaws. We get to hear about the gambling. There's the rumors behind why he retired. You hear about him losing his temper and going off on a teammate. You see him putting his head down and staying with the Bulls, being underpaid, and you don't really see him just slinging his dick around. Then you got LeBron, who shows up, chosen one, day one, H2 Hummer, $90 million shoe deal on the table before he plays a game in the NBA. You know what, Dan Gilbert? You're running a shit show of a franchise over here. I'm leaving. You know what, Pat Riley? D-Wade's falling apart. You're not letting me do what I want to do. I'm going back to Cleveland. Hey, you know what, Cleveland? You want to get Paul George here? Yeah, that's nice, but I don't want to raise Bronny here. I want him to go to high school in LA. So I know this can probably win us a championship this year if I got Paul George and Kyrie, because we're going to move Kevin Love and do some other gymnastics. I'm not committing to you guys because Dan Gilbert, I don't like you. I'm going to LA because that's where I want to be.
Well,
LA.
As a matter of fact, not to cut you off, but outside of MJ, all the greats played were Lakers.
Right. Hey.
At some point.
LA, I know y'all doing this slow build, but this is LA. That's not how we went out here. Lonzo, go. B.I., go. You know what, Kuz? You even got the ring with us. You got to go. Caruso, go. KCP, I got you a lot of money out here. Clutch guy, go. So LeBron, he has power. He's King James, and he uses it. And people don't like that. It makes people uncomfortable to see somebody just throw their power around, and it's so blatant and obvious.
Yeah, and it's and that's what everybody always get on him for. These teams that he played on, even though, like I said, you look at it's not like Chris Bosh was on the All 75 team.
He was disappointed. He may make the 100.
Chris Bosh was really good with the Raptors, and he fit his role with the Heat. I don't know if he's maybe he is one of the 100 greatest players, but I think his career just ended a little too early.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. We needed 3 more years of that, especially with him and Wade in Miami. That would have been nice to see, maybe if they made it to an East Finals or something, even with the falling apart Wade.
Well, imagine that pick and roll.
People forget this, and Mike Wilbon brought it up because yesterday was Rajon Rondo's birthday. But when Rondo and Wade were with the Bulls, that they had who was the number 1 seed? They had somebody on the road.
Yeah, they had the I think it was the Celtics. It was
the
IT Celtics.
They were up 2-0 on them.
And then Rondo got hurt.
And that was all she wrote. But my point in bringing that up is just, it's an unwritten thing. I don't think Bosh is I don't know. But either way, Jordan did have 2 of his teammates on there. Rodman and Pippen were on that team. They were on the 75. And then granted, that's only 3 of his titles, and he does have another 3. But Scotty was always there. And I guess LeBron's got Wade for 2 of his.
2, yeah. Bro, I saw some weak ass shit on the socials with the numbers, top 75 players LeBron played with and against versus MJ. It's like, bro, you're reaching here. They were all on
they threw like Shaq probably in there because he did play with Shaq.
Hey, so let's talk about another career that seems to be ending early. Zion, huh?
I said a big man, just like Shaq.
Yeah, Zion street clothes Williamson, man. So Zion, he's been out all year. And, there's been a lot of speculation about when he's coming back. And, we don't know when the hell he's coming back. And the Pelicans, they'll be the last to know when he's coming back because he doesn't talk to the Pelicans. CJ McCollum came out and said, that he hadn't heard from Zion yet since coming to the team. He'd only talked to a few people around him. And look, CJ has a podcast, a big podcast, and he's going to transition into the media after his career. He knew exactly what the hell he was doing. He wasn't Ant-Man at the podium just talking. Then you got JJ Redick, who played on the team, comes out and rips him for not reaching out to his teammate. And then, you start to peel back that onion. JJ played there. So when JJ says, yeah, he's a detached teammate, I fucking believe it because he played with him.
And and people forget this too. He would never want to down
A Duke guy.
Duke guy. Yeah.
That was just a Duke guy.
A deeper connection that they actually have.
And
because they're both, even though Zion only played there for 1 year, they're both considered Duke greats, because JJ, he's really the one. I know Christian Laettner's the guy, but JJ was the guy I remember seeing. Terrence,
absolutely.
Him and Adam Morrison. I see, like, during that era, those were
averaging damn near 30 a game in college. But listen to this. JJ's also a CAA guy, so same agency. And, bro, players, especially when they're fresh out of the league and into the media, they're slow to rip players. Like, you rarely catch players in the same, like, players who played in the same generation ripping one of those players from their generation. Mm-hmm. So for JJ to come out and say that, it's a lot worse than what we're seeing. And there's been whispers that, he's been eyeing New York, which makes no fucking sense at all, because that's a shit show of a franchise ran by a shitty owner.
He'll make more money. They'll pay him just for the name and the allure. And then you already got, even though I know they said Tibbs, which I don't know how you trade for somebody you don't want, but you already got Cam Reddish and you got RJ. So let's get them back together.
Let's get the gang back together and continue to disappoint our fans. So
they lost in the Sweet 16, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, early. So, man, I look at this Zion thing, and call me crazy, call me a hot take artist, but, man, it's starting to feel like it's similar to Ben Simmons' mental health. It's a legitimate thing that you're dealing with, but you're using it in order to gain leverage on your franchise and sit out. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, you're not. And it's because he doesn't want to be there. And he gave you a full body of work basically last year. He's an all-star starter. He gave you, what was he? He was averaging probably 24, 25, maybe like 9 and 6 or 5 or something like that. Zion can play when he's on the floor, but I think Bill Parcells said it best. Your best ability is availability, and he's just not available. And so you look at a guy like Zion.
27 last year.
27? God damn. God, so he had been top 5 in scoring probably. Either way, the potential's there, and that's the point. Everybody knows that. And so, I don't know if it's New Orleans he doesn't like, and I don't blame him. Sorry, Lee's family. Sorry. Not sorry, Saints fans. But it's a smelly place, man. They got some good food. You can be there for 2 days. Give me 2 days. That's it. I can't do no more than 2 days. But smelly place, man. Attractive voices from the women. But, there's other places that you can go, and New York being one of them. You can be a Knick. Like, you know what I mean? You can play in Madison Square Garden every night, and everybody have your jersey on. You're on every billboard in Times Square. What did Jay-Z say? Well, he said Knicks and Nets give me high fives, but Zion giving Jay-Z high five. Like, you know what I mean? This stuff is real. And the Knicks probably have the money to sign them. And as disappointed as they've been, last year you saw the promise getting fucking beat by 5 by the Hawks. But you saw the promise and what they could have, and they could easily move on from Randall because they haven't paid him yet. So
they just paid him.
They did?
Yeah, you can flip it. He'll go back to New Orleans.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can make a move. And so, nonetheless, you set this guy up to go there. I do think that he's using that as a ploy to kind of get out of there. And we've seen it before. Anthony Davis was kind of doing it too. Like, let's not forget that.
But hold on. Here's the thing about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis was about to be an expiring contract. He was a year away from being an expiring contract. He had played 5 years in New Orleans. He was an consistent All-NBA player. He was a consistent All-Star. He carried them to the playoffs. And for Zion Williamson to not want to play in New Orleans, who the hell do you think you are, Zion? You play 1 out of 3 fucking seasons, and you think, oh, you know what? I'm just going to sit out until I can play where I want to play. I'm going to turn down my extension. Guess what? If I'm David Griffin, I pull an old play out of Daryl Morey's book. Because guess what? We got your rights. We can match that fucking contract. And we'll play hard ball all day long, Zion. I'm going to be here a long time. You don't have enough skin in the game. Enough games played, no playoff runs, no top MVP finishes, no All-NBA finishes like that. Who the get the fuck out of here. I'm all about empowering players and giving players the opportunity to take their destiny in their own hand. But damn it, man, a contract has to mean a little bit of something. You got to show up to play for a little while and be able to be that top performer who says, you know what? You guys suck. Get me out of here. Not like, nah, bro. New Orleans has put plenty enough talent around Zion in order for them to be a winner. Now, they got rid of fucking Van Gundy, which was a terrible coaching hire, but they got rid of him. And now, nah, man, I can't get with the Zion shit, man. This is bullshit.
I think for it to be so early in his career, it definitely is. But I brought up Davis not to compare the two, but just in terms of in general using something as a way to get out. Like, I mean, think about it. And I guess Scotty didn't do this, but even in the Last Dance, we saw Scotty's ass could have been got that surgery, and he didn't do it because he didn't like the contract situation that he had in Chicago. He felt like he was underpaid. You're sucking Jordan's dick every day, and you're acting like I didn't do anything to help win these titles. And it's just like, no, you know what? I'm going to take my time. Once season starts, you know what? Man, this is still bothering me. I think I'm going to go get some surgery. I'm going to miss a lot of games. And I think that Zion isn't letting on what he wants to. And, I mean, I think he's just naturally a big dude, so I think weight was always going to be an issue. But when it comes to even the injury itself, how the fuck do you keep having this foot injury? Like, what's going on with your foot, man? And why was this not a concern coming into the league, and now all of a sudden it is?
And why did the team find out right before training camp? Like, why are you not communicating with the team? Why are you not in the facility working out, rehabbing? Why are you not close to the team? I do, again, I'm all for empowering players, but guess what? They're the reason why we have structure set in place. And, you know, one thing we're seeing with players bouncing around, there's less commitment to teams from the fans as well. And it dilutes the product. And I think you have to earn the right to be an Aaron Rodgers. You have to earn the right to be a LeBron. You have to earn the right to be Kevin Durant. And even Anthony Davis, the Pelicans benched him once he made his trade request and they didn't trade him. They were like, okay, we know we're going to move you in the offseason because you're going to be an expiring. So we're not going to damage the asset. You know, they benched him. As far as they knew, as far as we knew, Anthony Davis still would have played. So I support using leverage when you have it. But come on, dog, you're in your rookie contract. You haven't been healthy. Ja's out here he's gonna have a home playoff series right now.
Has a legitimate chance of making some noise.
They could make the Western Conference Finals this year.
They could. They really could.
CP3 is out 6 to 8 weeks. Draymond has a bad back. Does his back get better by the end of the year?
Well, probably not. Just has a man since he's went out. They just don't look right to me.
No.
They this young talent that we thought they had. I don't know if Clay is throwing, and Clay obviously doesn't look the same. But I don't know if he's throwing it off or whatever. But they don't look right. Memphis. Look.
I know.
As long as the Nuggets, because I think Porter Jr.'s out for the year, and then of course, you know.
Oh, don't get me started on superstar Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray's a good basketball player, man.
Yeah, he gives you 20 a game, 5 assists.
But in the playoffs, he can go for 45, 50. And we saw it. I granted in the bubble, which I don't put an asterisk next to bubble championships, but I do put an asterisk next to the bubble. Because I talked about something like that. You said when I said something about Anthony Davis, you brought up the bubble, and I was like, shit. Fucking TJ Warren looked like an all-star in the bubble. You know, he did. He looked like a fucking all-NBA player.
Because you take away
like one. Jamal Murray looked like all fucking, like I'm talking first and second team niggas. Like,
because you're taking away all of the distractions. Like, they don't have women. I mean, sure, I know people are drinking and smoking and stuff like that, but they don't have to deal with women. They're more so focused on basketball. You don't even got to deal with your like family for real, because they're not there. Because if you look at the Knicks, the last year, part of the reason why I think the Knicks were so much better then than they are now, no fans in the arena. It's a different environment.
Pressure. Yeah, the pressure wasn't the same on the Knicks.
Those factors.
Those fans do put pressure on them.
Exactly. And I don't know if Zion's ready to get booed at home. I don't know if he's ready to fit in a uniform. But speaking of, we're going to transition out of the NBA. We've done an hour and almost an hour and a half of NBA. Let's get to Coach Howard.
Oh, Juan?
Because his head is shaking right now. So I think you all saw it. Juwan Howard gets into it with Wisconsin coach. Long story short, Juwan Howard's pressing. Wisconsin called the timeout. Juwan Howard's not happy about it. It's like, dude, you're pressing. If you're going to look at it bigger picture, Michigan's struggling, and margin of victory helps getting into the tournament. So I think Juwan Howard's trying to do whatever he can to get his team into the tournament. Now, up until this point, he's had really good seasons there. He did have an incident with Mark Turgeon where he told him he would kill him. I don't know if you guys remember the Miami Heat teams, but Juwan Howard was usually the first person off the bench anytime there was an issue. So I'm not shocked by all of this at all.
He's also the first player in NBA history to get a $100 million contract. Fun fact of the day. Who would have thought? But I'm just saying, who would have thought he was first?
And
he was.
And so he's been suspended for 5 games, which is the rest of the regular season. He addressed it after the game, and he issued an apology for his incident with the coach and swinging at him. You can look at this from so many different places. So, Parlay Pete, where do you fall on this Juwan Howard shit?
When I originally saw it, I thought he was going to get fired, just because the optics of it looked really bad. And then he not only, from what you saw, initiated the contact, but at the same time, then he got his players involved, which is even more dangerous and just not the right. You're supposed to be the leader of these young men. Their parents entrusted you. At the end of the day, everybody's for themselves. You've got to take accountability for your actions. Those guys are still over 18. Some 17, but most of them over 18. So you're an adult at that point. So you got to take responsibility for your actions. But him kind of what appeared to be inciting a fight, not to be confused with the riot that was done in the United States, inciting a fight. It didn't look very good. But then when you look closer at it and the situation around it, and Juwan basically just told the coach, I'm going to remember that timeout. And then the coach coming up to him and grabbing him on the arm. And then he's basically like, don't touch me. And then, they're getting in each other's face. Then everybody's getting in between them. And then I don't know they never said what the assistant coach that he smacked said. But it had to have been something. There's no way he just put his hands on him for nothing. And he had to have said something, like whether it was fuck you. And then you had the other coach that did the DX suck it, the crotch chop that, it was ugly, honestly. I mean, I liked it a little bit because you like to see a little flair in the game. But
and that's what I was gonna get to, dog. I like that. If I'm on his team, I like that. Our coach, he about it. He riding too. Like sometimes that whole leader of men, you can have to be infallible. Keep your cool under pressure at all times. Nah, bro. He disrespected. We got to get some straightening around here. And that shouldn't be your reaction all the time. But occasionally, especially you got them young boys, they fed off that because you saw some of the other players ready to get active. Yeah. Just because, hey, they bout it. But you know what? That's
doing it. Shit. Well, I'm here. I got my coach back.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got the other guys who didn't want to be involved because that's not who they are. And it's okay not to be that type of person. But I just think,
you're really going to have a team full of dogs like that anyways, unless you're like the bad boy Pistons where it seemed like every motherfucker over there was trying to hit. There's always the enforcers on teams. That's why teams that's why Kobe, once they lost Trevor, he wants Ron, our meta world peace. He wanted, once they lost him, Matt Barnes. You want a guy, obviously anyone from the Pacers and the Pistons too. Those are two teams that are clearly about that life too, especially the Pacers.
Yeah, you want to stay.
They're really going to have a team full of dogs like that.
Yes, and I just think so much. And here's why you and I are here talking about sports is there's too many people talking about sports who never played sports. They've never been in like those moments where there's almost been fights. Like I've been in moments where you got high school coaches like talking shit to high school kids, and it's getting that heated because there's so much testosterone and so much adrenaline pumping, and it's just that one little thing. Like, I'll tell you a story real quick, right?
Go ahead.
I'm playing against my friends Todd and VJ. I know you've met VJ. I don't know if you've met Todd.
I met Todd.
Okay, so we're in a pile. This dude kicks me. He kicks me on top of my head in a pile. And I'm not going to repeat everything I said on my
football game.
Football game.
Okay.
So I run over, and I'm playing corner on their sideline. So I don't get in the huddle or any of that because, corners don't get in the huddle. We see the play call from the side. Okay, coverage, got it, cool. I look at their coach and I say, if that motherfucking so-and-so touch me again, I'm going to kill him. And I go. And then I didn't know this till like years later. Me and VJ are having a conversation. He grabs them. Hey, number 2, y'all shut him up. Because, bro, with sports, that stuff happens. So I'm not saying it's acceptable, but it happens. It's part of it.
A lot of times it's not personal.
No, you don't think about that stuff like after the incident is over. You don't think anything about that. Like
that, for instance, the Michigan, the play itself, the pressing, and then the timeout, it's like an unwritten rule. It's like you're up this amount of points. My guys, like you said, we've got to look a certain way on paper. So if we can cut this lead, we will. We know we're not going to win. So it's no reason for you to call a timeout. Hell, it was only – he said something about 4 seconds. Shit, at that point, you could have just threw the ball down for somebody to get, and they could have caught it, or Michigan could have got it. They might have dribbled, and probably had to shoot a half-court shot. Game over. But calling a timeout, you're already up. What is the point of that? It's an unwritten rule, like kind of in sports in general. And to get back to even what you're saying, I don't have any personal stuff with coaches, but obviously I've got to see it many times, especially AAU ball. The shit happens all the time. Fights, that stuff happens.
Oh yeah, bro. That's
and even I look at something like this, Colin, obviously being good friends with Colin Sexton, Cavalier. There's a clip on YouTube of him. Obviously he's a meme for looking at a player a certain way, but there's a clip of him on YouTube talking shit to Penny Hardaway. Before Penny was the coach at Memphis, he was coaching his son, and he looked Penny Hardaway dead in his fucking eye and told him, "Your son is trash," and proceeded to fuck him like on the court, like what I mean. And just, I'm talking. He's all at the free throw line, and Penny's on the other end. He's yelling back, "Trash!" But
and that's sports.
It doesn't mean that Colin was trying to make a name for himself or didn't have respect for Penny Hardaway and what he's given to the game. He was telling him how it was, and it was probably some shit going on where he might have been telling his son, lock his ass up, show him.
Yes, man, and that's just sports culture, man, and that's why I hate when you get these people in their moral high horse saying, like Chris Broussard he needs to be suspended for the rest of the season and possibly fired. Like, this is unacceptable. Man, dog, you played college ball, man. Stop. You mean to tell me you've never got into it with a coach? Like, you've never heard a coach be like, burn him. Or oh, yeah, cook his ass. Cook who? Cook what?
Right.
Come here. Hey, no. Give me the ball. Who he cooking? Then you get that shot. Cook that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is sports culture, man. And then when you have somebody like a Juwan Howard who, a little bit different from a lot of these other coaches, and because he's a former player, because he came from the NBA, some of them will say he didn't really pay his dues. So he knows there's a different energy in that room, a certain level of disrespect that we don't know about that he gets from these coaches. And also, there's an unwritten rule of grown men. You don't touch no grown man. Ever, period.
You certainly don't grab him by the arm. like nigga, what is this? Am I supposed to be your bitch and you about to fucking do some domestic? Why are you grabbing my arm like that? Like, so that's why after I saw it, because my first thought was, oh man, he's gonna probably get fired for this. Not that I thought he maybe should have, but my thinking is just he probably was gonna get fired. But after seeing it and knowing the actual story around it, this is probably the appropriate move. It's only 5 games left in the regular season. He'll be back for the tournament. They'll have a chance. Maybe they'll run into each other again because they do play in the same conference. It should be great stuff. And another thing with Juwan Howard too, he's an infamous college basketball player too, being a part of the Fab Five, who a lot of people who a lot of people, aren't very fond of because they did kind of change the I mean, think about it. They were
They
wearing
got to
black
being
sneakers.
niggas.
Yeah, they were niggas. They were the NWA of college basketball, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they was niggas with attitude. And the world didn't like it.
Black sneakers. Everybody else is wearing these dudes are wearing black sneakers.
Big shorts.
Yeah, baggy. They play with the swagger, about themselves. They're all freshmen. Like, you know what I mean?
Dunking and C-Web dunking and yelling.
Well, think about it. Right. And then when you think about it, they're the first of these freshmen coming out and doing it. And then they ran it back, right? The very
Yeah, they
next
did run it
year.
back, yeah.
And because they lost in the Natty one year, and then I think they lost either in the Elite Eight or the Final Four the next.
Final Four.
Yeah. And so they just changed the complexion of college basketball, especially in a time where some people would call maybe the golden era of college basketball too, that Leitner, UNLV, Kentucky, all those great college teams in the 90s.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna totally transition from basketball, and we're gonna kind of talk football, right? But we're gonna talk about Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers has his post. Gratitude is the wine for the soul. Go on, get drunk. Then it's followed by here's some Monday night gratitude for some of the incredibly special people in my life with some pictures from the last beautiful year. And he talks to Shailene Woodley, who is his
fiance.
What his fiance? Apparently they broke up. I don't know. I don't really care. But he just gives it thanks to her. He talks to the guys on the team that he hung out with. And then, he's spreading love to just pretty much everybody else. And there's a wide array of comments, man. And then if you dig a little bit deeper and you listen to the Pat McAfee interview, you found out that he just came off of a 12-day cleanse. If you give me a second, I'll tell you what kind of cleanse it was. It's a panchakarma cleanse, and it's kind of complex. It's kind of weird to me because I'm just not into stuff like that. But then if you further listen to the interview, he kind of just says, yeah, at the end of the year, I kind of do this to, reset myself. And Aaron caught a lot of hell for this. And what I've just come to accept is that the sports media is just never going to put their arms around Aaron Rodgers when he starts to talk about the things in his head, because he doesn't give you quarterback speak like Russell and just say, go Hawks. He's into other things, and God forbid a high-end athlete have interests outside of the damn sport, and he's also just into some weird shit. He was talking about some of his Buddhist friends that he talks to. And I'm not to say that stuff is weird. I shouldn't say weird. It's just alternative. It's not mainstream. So oftentimes we're quick to judge people because we don't understand them, or we just don't want to accept it. And it's like, dog, it's some guys who end the season and they pound beers and pack dips and watch fucking basketball and lift weights. And we go, that's an all-American guy. Aaron Rodgers is reading books and doing these earthy cleanses and hanging out with people who have other interests from us. And I think that's all it is. It's just a lack of understanding and acceptance of Aaron Rodgers because he won't fit into the box that everybody has for him.
He's definitely a different kind of guy. I mean, I think Aaron's great. I mean, obviously on the field, but even off the field, I thought that he would have been a great replacement for Jeopardy. I really do. I thought he was good from what I had seen. I'm like, he's got the candor, and Aaron Rodgers is already kind of a prick.
Yeah,
he is. He is a prick. I mean, think about it. And here's me bringing up the Falcons again. When they beat us in the playoffs that year, that run was the year when he was doing the championship belt thing. He was doing that shit a lot. Every time he scored a touchdown or the jumping up and like doing that, like kind of like he's like kind of doing that, but he's really just doing it with one arm. That's what it always looked like to me. He just is kind of he's a cocky SOB, and they won that year, obviously. Then he never got back. But the post itself, the first thing I took away, I thought retirement more than I'm leaving Green Bay. It just the way that it was worded and him talking about the past year and then he said, to my teammates past and current, you are the icing on the beautiful cake we call our job, football. The friendships that we have will transcend our collective time in this game, and I am so thankful for the role that each of you have played in making my life that much better. I love you guys and cherish the memories we've made. That line in itself, it just seemed so retirement-ish to me. And I know that he wouldn't want to do that, because if Aaron's arrogant like people think he is, I highly doubt that he would want to share his Hall of Fame year with Tom Brady, knowing that Tom Brady would be the headliner, and he wouldn't. So if people believe that he's as arrogant as he is, then that kind of would throw it off, because why would you? I mean, I guess it would be cool to get inducted with Brady, but at the same time,
Brady's coming back. What are you talking about?
Well, and then there's that part of it too. But obviously, even for a guy like Aaron too, it's not like he's somebody he's not going to catch any of these records that Brady has. He just, he got off to that too slow of a start, and then he's gotten injured a little bit in his career. He just, he'll have that touchdown ratio one for sure. For sure. That's good. That's all his. But and he's not going to get the rings. Even if he won one more, two more, he's not catching Brady. And so, it just felt real retirement-ish to me. But I think, I guess we'll see. I mean, he came out on McAfee the very next day and said that there was no decision, but I guess he just felt the need to thank the people in his life. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people don't just randomly thank people,
And we should do it more, man. And
I appreciate you, you know that.
Appreciate you too, man.
Yeah. And so
he was drunk
very often.
He was drunk, coming off of a cleanse, probably just going through different thoughts, and was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. And, on the McAfee interview, some things that I really liked about it was he talked about how his fiance kept him centered throughout those 2 years. He's like, yeah, there's no coincidence that I've won back-to-back MVPs and we've been together these 2 years. And Cowherd has really beat him up about not being married and not having kids and being almost 40. And there is a balance aspect to having a woman in your life. I have a woman in my life, and having her makes a lot of things easier to do, because I can bounce ideas off of her. You just have that outlet, to keep you balanced and keep you centered.
It's your own kind of personal support system in itself.
Exactly.
And, I definitely would agree that being in a relationship, that those are one of the positives of it, and I think that even for a guy like him, I mean, look, if he might not even want to have kids, who knows? Like, some people don't want kids. And so, and then you got to look too deeper with the guy like Aaron Rodgers. Even though we don't know much about it, we know that he doesn't talk to his family either. So yeah. I'm sure that being that great and like people loving you, like the media kind of talks shit about you, but like, your fans definitely love you. Like, they love you. The league has respect for you. Like, you earn their respect, but then now you got this thing where your brother's he's a TV guy. Like, he's on TV, and, your parents, like, these are open comments that have been made that Aaron doesn't talk to us. And they're like, then people are like, well, what's that all about?
Well, it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people didn't realize too. I mean, I know it was said a little bit like that, but, people used to say that Kobe didn't talk to his family either. And so, and I don't know how true that is, but I know that there was the thing about his mom selling his high school stuff or whatever, and he did not give her permission, which I would be mad as fuck about that too. Yeah. I probably would not talk to my mom just because I'm rich as fuck. You know what I mean? But like, and I just know what the importance of mom is. But like at the same time, for Aaron, that's another part of it. So it's just kind of like, he's really, that's why he didn't thank them in this. He thanked the people that he's around on the daily. Like I said, his fiance or ex-fiance, whatever, his woman in his life, his teammates, and his friends, that's big thing for him. So maybe he was just a little drunk because he had been sober for a little bit and he'd been collecting his thoughts.
I just appreciate athletes like Aaron Rodgers, to LeBron's, big quote, more than an athlete, somebody who just is a deep thinker, a wine drinker. And
you over here giving us Drake bars?
That's
Deep
Wale.
thinker, wine drinker.
That's Wale.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like something Drake would say. Then again, I don't really listen to Wale.
Oh man, this is from off More About Nothing. But
Oh, not all slight work. Shit
no.
like that.
But I just think, we need to see different layers of different types of athletes so people stop trying to put athletes in a box. Because now we got Tom Brady, who's just come outside of his box. For so long, he was football.
It was the Patriots way.
Yeah, it was the Patriots way. And then on his way out, we start seeing some things. And once he gets out, we start to see the other side of Tom Brady. We see commercials. We see him being a prick. We see social media. We go, okay, this guy is normal. And now he's flirting with retirement, and he's going to be a movie star. Did you see this?
No.
All right, so Brady,
like LeBron James type movie star, where, and I'm not talking about Space Jam. I'm talking about whatever that movie was that LeBron was in, but he wasn't like in it like that. He probably had 10 minutes of him in it.
No, this looks
or like, be like Kevin Garnett and as what's Kanye's old bitch name? Not bitch, but what's her name?
Amber Rose?
No, Fox.
Julia Fox?
Yeah, Julia Fox. She's like, I was something Muse in Uncut Gems. Like how KG was in Uncut Gems. Have you seen Uncut Gems?
Yes. I saw it in theaters.
KG wasn't really in it. He was in it, but he was
in it enough, but he really wasn't acting.
Right. It was him being himself as a player.
So Tom Brady to produce and star in road trip movie. The film called 80 for Brady is about 4 Patriots fans going to the 2017 Super Bowl.
We just can't leave this stuff alone, can we, Tom? So now he wants to monetize off of the Super Bowl.
Like,
who's he going to get to play Matt Ryan and Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan?
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, man, fuck you. So I saw a post, and I know we're going to get to that. I think I'll hold it for the end of this because I know it's going to transition into that.
Well, you know what? I'm done with this because I saw the headline, but I didn't actually read the underneath about what it was going to be about. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Okay, well, then I'll transition it. There was a post on, I think, Atlanta Meme that said, who does Atlanta hate more? And it's a picture of Tom Brady, and then it's a picture of I'm going to call her Amaretta. I really don't know her name. Is it Amaretta?
I guess it's Amaretta the Great.
Catchy song. Yeah, that's what it says. It says, which person broke the most people's hearts in Atlanta? It's a picture of Tom Brady with the football, and then it's her with the sign that says, welcome to Atlanta. And it's even crazier. You want to know what the top pinned comment is?
What?
We just gonna act like Matt Ryan shouldn't be an option, and it's just like, and I love
a good game.
Well, I love it now. I love it even more because the top comment under that wasn't his fault. It was Kyle Shanahan, and then the next top comment is nothing was ever Atlanta.
Was that like supposed to be not the same?
I guess, and then and then a bunch of other comments basically say Kyle Shanahan.
I mean, that's who I blame it on.
It's a good question, though. I guess you're not from Atlanta. But,
I just this really had social media going crazy all weekend.
Well, and then people turning it into their city's version, saying if you're from here, you're from here. You're not from DC or Detroit or.
You know what? I saw somebody do it for Cartersville, and I was like, bro, stop. Please stop. Cartersville is not Atlanta.
Well, we know that. Like, you know what I mean? I think that what was so touchy about it, and for me, I'm a person that views, and I'm not saying that she's wrong, because to a degree, I guess she is correct. But when people look at Atlanta, they also look at the metropolitan. That's
because it's so fucking small.
Exactly. Atlanta, I think they said have 600,000 residents. And I don't even know what that number is based on, because that could be based on just the units. And then, of course, there's so many people that live here that are not from here, like from Georgia, period, live in Atlanta. So I don't know what that number even is supposed to mean, because even for somebody like me, my driver's license still says Stone Mountain. So would I be considered a part of that 600,000, even though I live in the city and I don't pay taxes on Atlanta taxes?
Who knows?
You know,
I can't keep up with these things, but I listened to what she was saying, and great way to like capture people's attention for a little while. I just gave you a stream. You won't get another one out of me. But if that's what you really take pride in, you love your city that much, you know what? Go for it. But take the part of Atlanta that she calls Atlanta. And that's the Atlanta culture that I want you to cling to, okay? That like anything that came from outside of it, anything that you said is not Atlanta, that it claims Atlanta culture. I don't want you to accept that as Atlanta culture, okay?
Yeah, don't work with Ludacris. Don't work with 2 Chainz. Don't work with Childish Gambino. Don't watch the show Atlanta.
No Migos.
No Migos.
No, not an Outcast would work with her. Or no Andre, not Andre, excuse me, no Big Boy, because Big Boy's from Savannah. Okay, no Big Boy.
Right. No Gucci, no Jeezy. Them niggas aren't from Atlanta. They were born in Alabama. So
we don't know where Jeezy was born. I think Thomasville.
Doesn't matter. They're not from Atlanta. I know that much. And so
Jeezy is not Atlanta. And I mean T.I. T.I. grew up on the west side, but he went to Riverdale High School. Riverdale is not Atlanta.
Well, and more importantly, too, Shawty Low called him out for that. He said it must be 2 sides. So I don't know which west side. That other west side might not be Atlanta too. So at this point, the only thing that we know is Atlanta is her word. Wherever, if you went to APS, you're Atlanta.
Grady baby. Well,
and even somebody said something about Grady babies aren't necessarily Atlanta. Just because you were born there, they say that just means that your mother couldn't afford
didn't have insurance.
Yeah, or something like that.
But you know what? She picked the most controversial place to shoot the video because technically the Battery is Atlanta. But when
it's Cobb County and nobody looks at it like it's
right, but
the address there is, it says Atlanta, Georgia.
It does, but
it doesn't say Smyrna, it doesn't say Marietta, it says Atlanta.
But I feel like they changed it when they built the stadium, dog. Because
I agree, but it's weird because I've been going. My gym is right next to it's like right there. So my gym is right there, and I've been going to that gym since I was like 9 or something. And so like, I guess I don't remember whether or not it said Smyrna or not, but I've always looked at that as Marietta, Smyrna. That's exactly what I've always looked at that area as. And so
same, I didn't consider that Atlanta, and I just. And maybe again that was to get people going because it's technically Atlanta, but it's Cobb County and
literally right at the perimeter too, because 285 is right there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying I don't know if it's always been Atlanta. Justice just showed me the address for our gym, and like I said, it says Atlanta too. And it's just I've never looked at it as Atlanta.
But you know what? We're bitter because we are not Atlanta. I think that's what it boils down to.
By definition, yeah, we're not.
Why do people care so much? And I guess because I'm from a small town, I don't have that same big city pride. But I'm like, dog, we're talking about places that are 20 minutes from each other. I used to live in San Diego. I could go to somebody else's house in San Diego and it would take me 45 minutes. And I wasn't driving from the bottom of San Diego to the top of San Diego.
Right. I just think that Atlanta being arguably the most unique place for it because there's so much in, especially what she's doing in rap culture, but culture just in general too. It's such a distinguished kind of place. And anyone that's from here, this is the thing. Everybody knows what Atlanta is because Atlanta has claimed so many people from within that radius of the perimeter and then slightly outside of it. Like Stone Mountain is slightly outside of the perimeter. And I don't look at Stone Mountain as Atlanta. Obviously, Lithonia can be because it's inside the perimeter, but depending on what part. My dad's house is in Stone Mountain. Our next door neighbor's house is Lithonia. And so it just is a matter of how you want to look at it, I guess. But I know that it's one of those things where everybody that's from here, if you're from here, you know you're from here, but only when you meet somebody else that's from here, the first question is, what high school did you go to? Because that'll give you a sense of what part of the city you're from. And so,
what high school do you tell people? Do you tell them the private school or do you tell them Stevenson?
Both. Just because even though I went to high school there for 3 years, I grew up on this same road. I mean, I went to elementary, middle, and my first year of high school, Stevenson. So like I identify with both, but certainly I could pull either card is kind of the thing, because Sandy Springs, for what it's worth, that's Atlanta. Let me see.
No, I mean, if you type in Sandy Springs, it says Sandy Springs.
I want to see what the address for Mount Vernon is. 5110 Mount Vernon Highway, Atlanta, Georgia. So I went to high school in Atlanta. I graduated from high school in Atlanta. And so I don't know. I don't know what she was getting at with all this. But
I think that she is clever for the song and the marketing of it. Okay, I give you that. But I don't think she's the brightest little fish in the sea, because if she were really trying to alienate all of these areas, she would just be alienating so much of Atlanta culture. That would be like somebody from the Bronx saying, yeah, now Harlem, that's not New York. Now, not that I don't rock with Harlem, and if you're from Harlem, you can't rep the Bronx. I mean, if you're from Harlem, don't rep the Bronx. Obviously, you're not from that borough.
Right.
But hold on, you're not part of the city?
Well,
right?
and that's what I asked Couture this. I asked her, I said, so Manhattan, would that be considered you guys as downtown? And she said, yeah. And so I said, okay. So I was like, so if you live in Queens, I was like, does that make you not New York? And then she goes into this whole borough thing and that it's all one. And I'm like, yeah, but, and I know that New York's the largest city in the United States, obviously, right? But at the same time, it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just curious as to how everybody looks at it. Because when people look at Atlanta as a city, the Olympics didn't come here because of what she was talking about. They came here for everything. The fucking tennis tournament was out here in Stone Mountain. So,
bro, the rafting shit was in Tennessee.
Was it?
Yeah.
Nonetheless, look, this is the point. The point is that geographically they looked at Metro Atlanta, and that was exactly why it came here. It wouldn't have come here if you were just trying to do everything right there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it's some great social media stuff. We may hear that at a Falcons game. They may take a clip. I can see that as a clip being played like in a sporting event. If somebody does something that's bad, that is not Atlanta.
Well, it could be, the Saints will be here, and then they'll say, born in New Orleans but live in Atlanta. That's not Atlanta.
Yeah. So there's some
New Orleans people that fucking live here. Like,
yeah, there's some funny stuff that you can do with that, but nonetheless, it's just more pop culture filth, man. And this is kind of where we're going to close out, because we're talking about different shit now. And dog, I didn't know that Tory and Meg were going back to court today, because I don't keep up with too much of that pop culture filth.
Yeah, I didn't know either until you guys put it in the group. And of course, she's saying, stop trying to make it seem like me and my friend were fighting over you. Just be honest. You shot me. And it's just like, nobody, but she won't even, and I guess because they're in court, she won't even come out and just be like, this is what happened. We were talking about this, that, and the third. This nigga got mad. He pulled it out and said, well, what if I fucking shoot you? And you were like, nigga, the fucking Harlem Night scene, basically. Like, he's like, quick, I bet you won't. And then he's like, I'm warning you. And then he shot her in the foot, in the pinky toe.
In my pinky toe. But
right.
And then DJ Academics reported that they did the DNA on the weapon and it came back inconclusive, which means that at this point, there's no proof that Tory Lanez held the gun. And from what I've
hands on it too.
Yeah. And from what was, reported earlier, she was a little fucked up. So, do you really know what happens? Like, I've been blackout drunk before. I don't remember everything that happened, So like,
and especially I imagine in those Hollywood Hill parties, there's a little bit more than just drinking going on.
Exactly. So what credibility do you have to tell a story And this is not an attack on a black woman. It's just like, hey, man, there's a lot of stuff going on with this story that just doesn't make sense. And then also, why are you so eager to play this out in the public? It's being played out in court. Like, who gives a damn about public opinion? Public opinion is not going to put anybody in jail. It might put them in Twitter jail for a little while. It might put them in Instagram jail for a little while. It might get them canceled for 2 weeks. But guess what? People are listening to Tory Lanez music still.
Yeah. He's already out of it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm trying to think. Did he drop that before or after? No, I think it was before. I was going to say the shit with T-Pain.
He dropped that Chicks tape. He dropped that before.
Okay. But he did drop a tape after. I didn't listen to it. Yes. I'm a big Tory Lanez fan. I mean,
after he kind of dropped the tape telling the story, telling what happened, but not really telling what happened because, he had to be careful with his words. But what I commend him for most of this process, he's been fucking quiet. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, this is legal stuff. I can't talk about it.
Right.
And apparently academics and Meg have been going at it. And I just love when academics goes at it with people. I might look out for what he's going to put out tonight on Twitch because he's going to get drunk and he's going to get to yelling.
Who, Ack?
Yes. I'm not a big Ack fan, but I think that shit's going to be funny.
What's Ack?
Academics, man. I don't know.
Ack.
Oh, that's activist.
All right. Isn't it funny that he switched his name to a fucking popular denim brand or streetwear? That's what I remember academics as.
Me too. I just read Troy Aikman may leave Fox Sports for Monday Night Football.
Really? He would want to break up with Joe?
I think.
Joe's staying. Joe's got to do Fox baseball. He's doing the World Series every year. I mean, he can't.
Yeah. I think he's just trying to get more money.
Well, Amazon's really should be who you would think would be the highest bidder.
That's what I wish. I mean, I'm trying to think of
free agent too. What are they going to pair up Troy and Al?
Oh, that wouldn't be terrible.
Really?
It wouldn't be. But
why don't you like Al Michaels? What's your beef with Al?
I don't dislike Al Michaels. I just associate him with Chris Collinsworth.
And you just don't like Collinsworth, right?
No, Collinsworth, bro. Collinsworth hasn't criticized a bad play call, and a bad player since I can remember. Like, hey, dog, everything's not good that happens in the game. Right. You can criticize this stuff. You know what? You should criticize this stuff because your job is to explain it to the fan. Make the fan smarter. Do like fucking Troy does when Dak makes a terrible throw or a bad read. It's like, Joe, you just can't do that right there. It's 3rd and 5. You don't go deep when you got your guy in the flat and there's nobody there. There's a blown coverage underneath. You got to get that guy. You can't throw that ball behind him, Joe.
Troy, I don't understand why they would run a play with 14 seconds, knowing they have no timeouts into the middle of the field because the game will be over if they don't score. I know that game was on CBS. But
bro, just imagine what Troy would have done to McCarthy and Dak on that play call. Murdered him.
He might have put in a call to Jerry.
Come on, man. So that's kind of my beef. And Al just catches the shrapnel because he's there. Kind of like the people who are around Aaron Rodgers. They catch all of the shrapnel from his immunized quotes just because they're there.
Al's got a lot of legendary calls, man. That's what he does. He's got the "Do you believe in miracles" call. Think about it. He called that.
And he worked with Madden.
Right, and that's really what everybody when Monday Night Football used to be on ABC.
Yeah,
exclusively it wasn't on ESPN before they moved it over. And then just one more topic before we get out, just because I sent in the private chat.
Oh yeah.
ESPN reports Colts will likely trade or release Wentz at the start of the league year. Wow,
is that like March 5th, March 6th?
Yeah, man, that's like next week. It's like next Thursday.
I'm hearing it's the angry owner who's not letting the football people football because what he was 27-7 touchdown interception ratio. He had like a 95-ish passer rating. He played terrible down the stretch, but I don't think when you give up a first for him, you cut bait this year, man.
Yeah, not that soon. I mean, I know that they blew it. They got blown out by the Jaguars. Obviously, you had the comeback game that wasn't against Baltimore on that Monday night game, if you remember. Or did they win that game? Did they beat Baltimore? No, they lost that game. They lost. Lamar because Lamar threw for 400. It was his first 400 game, and he had like 4 incompletions or something ridiculous, like one of his best games of his career. But I just think that it's very interesting because I don't know who would trade for him. Like, just off top of my head, I mean, I guess maybe Washington. I don't know. Like whoever can, because it's going to be.
Would you trade contracts that you don't like and not like us, for instance, right? Would we trade a Matt Ryan type quarterback for Carson Wentz? I know we won't. I know the Falcons won't. But I'm saying a team that's a little bit younger in their rebuild versus a team who feels like they're a quarterback away from making a deep run.
It's a fuck no for me. I mean, they would have to pay half. They would have to be paying almost all Carson Wentz's salary when he comes here if we did that. Like, and I say that just because first of all, I don't want Carson Wentz. Even if we're going to be rebuilding, that's not who I want being the quarterback. But secondly, you know, I could see a team like Indy being – I know last year before they got Carson Wentz, there was mummers of the Colts being interested in Matt Ryan because Matt can still play, and they have a good offensive line. And
a good running game.
Now we know they've got a great run game, and they've got solid receiving options. Good, solid defense. You know, they had the number 1 defense in fantasy last year.
Or would you make like a Kirk Cousins move? You know, like
Wentz for Cousins? I would make that trade. The only team that could make a trade like that is if Russ forced his way out. And
I would say Russ forced his way out of the future party.
I just don't know what's going to happen. And obviously the Texans wouldn't make that trade with you. So I just don't know where they would go from there. I guess it's kind of my thing. I know that there's not a quarterback in this draft that they could possibly want at 17, 18.
And if you want Wentz and you know that there's a good chance that they're going to cut him, why would you trade? Like,
well, now that this report's even come out, there is no value for him. Now you're just cutting him.
You're cutting him.
He's going to pass through waivers. Somebody will pick him up. A team that doesn't think that they have a chance at getting somebody, or a team that wants a transition. Like, let's say Rodgers says, I'm going to do 1 more year in Green Bay. Denver probably might be on line 1, you know, for Carson, possibly. That could be I could see that. Like, a team that's kind of left out in the dust, or who knows, Carolina's already paying a couple of different guys. Maybe they'll step up to the plate and fund this thing because we know Sam Darnold not it. So
Sam Darnold's a bad football player. He's a bad fucking football player.
Yes. I mean, you're spot on.
Josh Rosen can do what Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are doing right now. Just saying.
You're spot on. I mean, I don't know what – there would be a market for Wentz because it's not like he played terrible. Like, he wasn't god-awful, and he was actually relatively healthy this year. Like, you know, except for coming into the season, but he did play week 1. He missed like a game maybe for COVID, and then maybe he had 1 week where he missed on injury, but he pretty much played all year. And so –
and he has some good football skills.
And he's still young. He's not like he's old. I mean, look, Kurt Warner, and I guess he's not a fair comparison, but Kurt Warner was great, right, in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he went to the Giants before Eli got there, then revived his career in Arizona, you know? I mean, these stories do happen. And like I said, Carson Wentz is probably 27, 28, maybe.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He's a little bit younger than I am. There was a post that I was looking for real quick, and I can't find it to save my life. Hey, real quick, did you hear Coach O on trying to recruit Adrian Peterson?
Yeah, he said something about his dad was in jail and that they were trying to switch his shit because he wanted to stay at home, close to his dad or in Texas, as close as he could be, so that his dad could watch him on TV. And then he said that they made a call to the prison trying to get that nigga transferred.
Wow. That shit is wild. Hey, here goes. Real
recruiting, though, by the way, to show that, man, look, we care enough. Like, you know what I mean about you.
Man, what would the prison's beef really be like?
Good question.
I mean, you really got to go in the transfer portal to leave prisons? Like, come on, man. Hey, listen to this. Bruce Arians, people may not like the overall record, but Blaine had 8 head coaches and 8 coordinators his first 8 years. Gabbert. has never played with a team this good.
BA's got to shut the fuck up sometimes. I mean, and he's already kind of. I'm not gonna say he's in hot water because of this AB thing. You lost Brady. Now we're gonna really see, because I know that he gets a lot of credit for that Colts year when Pagano went down with cancer. Because he won Coach of the Year. But now we're gonna really get to see what type of coach BA is. And
I mean, he had his run in Arizona.
Yeah, but did he? I mean, Carson Palmer basically pulled a Kurt Warner. Let's call it what it is, because Carson Palmer was solid with the Bengals, and they had weapons around him there. But like in Arizona, he revived his career.
People said if Carson Palmer would have been with a stable franchise his entire career, he would have been a Hall of Famer.
He was good. I don't think he was ever great, and the Hall of Fame is reserved for great. It should be, at least.
And Eli Manning.
Yeah, you're gonna get crickets on that one from me. I guess I could see how he would get in. I wouldn't be pissed. I just don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't see how Eli gets in.
So you're not buying Blaine Gabbert?
No, not at all. Not at all. I tell you what, he's not either. He's pulling an Urban Meyer is what he's doing, saying that Gardner, was QB1 and that this is a competition, that nobody had the job. And it's just like, okay, yep. I tell you what, we'll see come week 1, right? we'll see if he really means that. I mean, they haven't even gotten to the draft yet, and he's coming out saying this. Like, bro, let the league year end so that we can get on to the next first. Don't come out here and say that Blaine Gabbert could be. First of all, you're going to turn off your fan base. And you guys they're still talented even without Brady, but you got to really turn off the fan base. People would much rather hear somebody say something about, Jameis Winston is a free agent and he was here 2 years ago and already knows the offense. What do you think of him? They would much rather hear you say all options are on the table, including Jameis. I think that people would much rather hear that than for you to come out and say, I think that Blaine just hasn't been around the right people.
That's a good way to end it, man. It was good talking to you, dog.
Absolutely. Another fantastic show in the books.
All right, man. I'll talk to you next week.
All right.
I'll talk to you in like 5 minutes in the group.
All right.